What are matter and pattern loans? In language contact, we can find loanwords, and loanwords can be, for example, words like igloo, which is a loanword from Greenlandic, from Inuit in English. In Greenlandic, it used to be written igloo, pronounced igloo, slightly different. Now, loanwords can also go the other way around. So Japanese has, for example, borrowed the English noun driver, which is written driver or so in Japanese. There are other types of loans, though, and when we look at them, they don't immediately look like loanwords. Flea market, for example, which is based on a French word, and also the English word skyscraper, which has been borrowed into many languages across the world, such as in German, Wolkenkratzer. Now, there are different types of loans, and the first type of loan we call matter, or mat loan, and that's something like igloo here from Greenlandic. And the second type is pattern, pat loan, Wolkenkratzer in German, based on the English skyscraper. Now, how do these come about? Matter loans are basically just taking the word from one language and using it in another, and it might be pronounced slightly differently, but otherwise everything is the same. Pattern loans, on the other hand, are those loans where an image is taken from one language and borrowed into another. So Wolkenkratzer in German is based on skyscraper, but it's based on skyscraper in the following way. Wolken means clouds and Kratzer means scraper. So clouds, scraper. It's the image that is borrowed into German rather than the English words. Okay, so matter loans we can also call direct loans, or borrowing of morphophonemic material. So elements from one language are taken over into another. We've got elements from Greenlandic that are taken over into English. And these can be integrated, and we'll come to that in a bit. Pattern loans, on the other hand, are indirect loans. Sometimes we call them calques. Right. In calques, it's usually all native material that is used. So there isn't really any loan word or any material from the other language that is used to express this new word. When we come to the integration of loans, we can see how loans are adjusted according to the language they are now used in. So driver looks somewhat different in Japanese, where it's doraiba. It's pronounced and written in a way that adheres to the Japanese spelling rules, I guess, and pronunciation. It can even go so far that it's almost impossible to recognize where a word is from. So Piraha, an Amazonian language, has borrowed a word from English, namely tape recorder. But in Piraha, this word is topagahai. And when you first hear topagahai, you probably don't really recognize tape recorder in it. It's not just tape recorder anymore either. It can mean all things from camera to record somebody. It's actually a verb in Piraha rather than a noun like tape recorder in English. Pat loans or pattern loans can also be integrated. So when we look at the French flea market, we can see that the structure of this is market of fleas. Now, in English, the form is flea market, and that's basically because in English we prefer so-called compounds, putting together two nouns, flea market, rather than saying market of fleas. But that depends on the language that you speak, how this works. So sometimes these are adjusted as well according to the language. But still, what we've got in these cases is the copy of the image that it's a market where fleas are sold, rather than the actual structure. Right, so mat and pat can appear in the lexicon, as we have seen in these examples, but mat and pat can also appear in grammar, but that's a whole different story. Thank you very much for listening.